I think I didn't do anything wrong, just took a little freedom while my husband was busy with his boring routines. That's why it felt so unfair, coming home to a process server handing me divorce papers and everyone staring at me like I'm the villain. All I did was live a little. So how did it all turn against me? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The kitchen felt suffocating that Tuesday morning as Sam questioned my upcoming conference schedule again. His coffee mug sat untouched while he studied my calendar with that analytical stare he used for debugging code. 3 overnight trips this month. Sam's voice carried that edge I'd grown tired of hearing. Since when does administrative work require so much travel? I forced a laugh, buttering Ellie's toast with deliberate calm. It's called career advancement, Sam. Some of us want more than sitting in the same cubicle forever. 8-year-old Ellie looked between us with those wide eyes that caught everything. Why can't Daddy come with you, Mummy? Because Daddy has his own work, I said, shooting Sam a look that dared him to contradict me. And these are professional networking events, not family vacations. Sam's mother, Evelyn, visiting for coffee, raised an eyebrow. Seems like a lot of networking for what exactly? I cut her off. For someone in my position. Maybe that's the problem. Everyone underestimating what I'm capable of. Later, when Sam left for work and Evelyn took Ellie to school, I called my sister Mira. She picked up on the second ring, already laughing about something. Girl, you sound stressed, Mira said. Let me guess, Sam's being paranoid again? He's questioning every business trip like I'm planning to rob banks, I vented, pacing our living room. I swear, sometimes I think he wants me to be as boring as he is. You know what I always say? Mira's voice carried that conspiratorial tone I loved. What happens on business trips stays on business trips. Distance makes everything harmless. I found myself smiling for the first time all morning. You're terrible. I'm realistic. You deserve some excitement, Ailith. Life's too short to spend it all in that suburban bubble. That evening at dinner, my phone buzzed with a text from Victor. Can't wait to see you at the conference. I've been thinking about our last conversation all week. I couldn't help smiling as I read it, remembering his laugh, the way he actually listened when I talked about my dreams and ambitions. Unlike Sam, who seemed more interested in spreadsheets than his own wife. Who's texting? Sam's question cut through my thoughts. Just work stuff, I said, quickly putting the phone face down. You know how it is. But Sam's expression had hardened in a way that made my stomach flutter with unease. Do I? The wine bar downtown buzzed with Friday night energy as I joined Mira and my best friend Jenna for our weekly girls' night. I'd been looking forward to this all week, a chance to vent about Sam's increasingly suspicious behavior. He actually asked to see my phone yesterday, I told them, taking a generous sip of my Pinot Grigio. Like, who does that? We're married, not in prison. Jenna shook her head sympathetically. That's controlling behavior, Ailith. Classic signs of an insecure man. Right. I felt validated hearing it from someone else. I mean, I work hard. I'm finally getting recognition in my career, and instead of being proud, he's acting like I'm some kind of criminal. Mira leaned in conspiratorially. Speaking of work, how's that cute sales rep you mentioned? Victor? I couldn't suppress my smile. He's refreshing. Actually appreciates my intelligence, you know. Treats me like an equal, instead of some housewife who should be grateful for attention. See, that's what I'm talking about, Jenna said, gesturing with her wine glass. You deserve someone who sees your worth. Sam's had years to step up, and instead he's getting more boring and paranoid. Honestly, I said, feeling the wine loosen my tongue, sometimes I think about what life would be like with someone who actually gets me. Someone exciting. Girl, you only live once, Mira said, and what Sam doesn't know won't hurt him, especially if it's just friendly networking. We all laughed, but I noticed a familiar figure approaching our table. Sam's mother, Evelyn, stood there, her face a mask of polite disapproval. "Ailith," she said coolly, "I was just leaving dinner with Frank when I saw you. Having fun?" The way she said fun made it sound dirty. I straightened in my chair, suddenly defensive. "Just catching up with friends, Evelyn. Is that not allowed?" "Of course it is," she replied, but her eyes swept over our wine glasses and knowing smiles. "I just hope you're being careful about the company you keep and the choices you make." After she left, Jenna rolled her eyes. "God, that woman. No wonder Sam's so uptight with a mother like that." "She's always been jealous of me," I said, though Evelyn's words had left me unsettled. She can't stand that Sam chose me over her precious little boy image. That night, I came home to find Sam waiting in the living room, still dressed in his work clothes. "How was girls' night?" he asked, but something in his tone suggested it wasn't casual curiosity. "Fine. Why?" I kicked off my heels, suddenly exhausted. "My mum mentioned she saw you, said you seemed animated." "Your mother has opinions about everything," I snapped. Maybe she should focus on her own life instead of spying on mine. Sam was quiet for a long moment. "Ailith, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." My phone buzzed with a notification. Someone had tried to access my account. My blood ran cold as I realized what that meant. "Are you checking up on me now?" I demanded, holding up the phone. "This is exactly what I was talking about with the girls. You're becoming obsessed, Sam. It's not healthy." "I'm not obsessed," he said quietly. "I'm concerned. About us, about our family." But I was already heading upstairs, my mind racing. How much did he suspect? How much did he actually know? The hotel in Chicago was nicer than I'd expected. Victor had upgraded our rooms to the executive floor. As I checked in, the desk clerk smiled warmly. "Welcome back, Ms. Marrow. Will you be staying in your usual room?" I froze. "Usual room?" "Oh, I'm sorry," the clerk backtracked quickly. "I must have confused you with someone else." But as I rode the elevator up, unease settled in my stomach. Victor met me at my room with champagne and that charming smile that had first caught my attention at the regional meeting 6 months ago. "To new adventures," he said, pouring 2 glasses. "To freedom," I replied, clinking my glass against his. For the first few hours, it felt perfect. Victor listened when I talked about my dreams of traveling, of having a career that mattered. He didn't interrupt or suggest I should be grateful for what I had. He made me feel alive in a way I'd forgotten was possible. But then Sam called. "How's the conference?" His voice sounded strained through the phone. "Educational," I said, stepping onto the balcony while Victor waited inside. "Lots of networking opportunities." "That's good. Ellie misses you. She had a nightmare last night and kept asking when you'd be home." Guilt twisted in my chest. "Tell her Mommy loves her. I'll bring her something special." "Ailith," Sam paused. "I love you. You know that, right? Whatever's going on, we can work through it." For a moment, I almost broke. Almost told him everything and begged him to forgive me. But then I looked through the glass doors at Victor, handsome and uncomplicated, and the feeling passed. "I love you too," I said, the lie coming easily. "I'll be home tomorrow." The next morning, I found a note slipped under my door. "Does your husband know?" Victor found me staring at it, my hands shaking. "Probably just some drunk guest playing pranks," he said, but he looked uncomfortable. "Maybe we should be more discreet." "Discreet about what?" I demanded. "We're both adults. We're not doing anything wrong." But even as I said it, I thought about Ellie's nightmare, about Sam's tired voice on the phone, about the desk clerk who seemed to know me. On the drive home, my phone rang constantly. Sam, Ellie, even Evelyn. I let them all go to voicemail, needing time to compose myself, to get my story straight. When I finally listened to the messages, Ellie's voice broke my heart. "Mummy, Daddy's acting weird and Grandma Evelyn keeps whispering. Are you coming home soon?" I called Victor, needing reassurance. "Maybe we should cool things off for a while," he said, his voice distant. This is getting complicated, and I'm not looking for complicated. Complicated? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Since when is caring about someone complicated? Since that someone is married with a kid, he replied bluntly. Look, Ailith, you're great, but I'm not trying to be a home wrecker. The line went dead, leaving me alone on the highway with the weight of what I'd done pressing down on me. I walked into our house Sunday evening, expecting the usual routine. Ellie running to hug me, Sam asking about my trip, normal family life resuming. Instead, I found them sitting at the kitchen table with a stack of papers between them. Mummy, Ellie jumped up, but there was something hesitant in her embrace. I missed you. I missed you too, baby, I said, kissing her head while eyeing the papers. What's all this? Sam looked up at me with an expression I'd never seen before, calm, cold, and completely focused. Just some things I've been organizing while you were away. Why don't you sit down? Something in his tone made my skin crawl, but I forced a smile. Let me just get settled first. The conference was exhausting. I'm sure it was, Sam said evenly. Lots of networking. Ellie looked between us with confusion. Daddy, why are you talking funny? Just tired, sweetheart, Sam said, his voice gentling for her. Why don't you go play in your room for a bit? Mommy and I need to talk. After Ellie left, Sam gestured to the papers. I've been doing some organizing while you were gone. Bank statements, receipts, phone records. You know how I like everything neat and tidy. My mouth went dry. Sam, what's this about? Well, he said, picking up a bank statement, I noticed some interesting charges, like this restaurant bill from your last conference, $127 for dinner. That's expensive for one person. I had a client dinner, I said quickly. You know how these things go. Right. He picked up another paper. And this hotel room service charge at 11 p.m. for champagne and strawberries. Must have been some client meeting. My heart was pounding, but I forced indignation into my voice. Are you seriously auditing my business expenses? This is insane, Sam. You're acting paranoid and controlling. Am I? He pulled out his phone. Because I also had an interesting conversation with Ellie yesterday. She mentioned someone named Victor, who calls you sometimes when I'm not around. She said you smile differently when you talk to him. The room felt like it was spinning. You're interrogating our 8-year-old daughter now. This is sick, Sam. What's sick? Came Evelyn's voice from the doorway. Is lying to your family. I spun around to find Sam's parents standing there. Frank looking uncomfortable, but Evelyn's eyes blazing with anger. This is a private conversation, I snapped. Not when it affects our granddaughter, Evelyn shot back. Do you think she doesn't notice the tension? The way you light up when your phone rings? The way you've been treating her father? I haven't been treating anyone badly, I protested. I've been working hard, trying to build a career, and instead of support, I get suspicion and accusations. Mira chose that moment to arrive, letting herself in through the back door, as she always did. What's going on? She asked, taking in the tense scene. Sam's having some kind of breakdown, I said quickly. He's convinced I'm hiding something just because I've been traveling for work. Mira immediately moved to my side. This is exactly what we talked about, Ailith. This controlling behavior isn't healthy. But Sam just smiled. A cold, terrifying smile. Actually, Mira, I'm glad you're here. Maybe you can help clear something up. He pulled out his phone and played a recording. My voice came through clearly. Sometimes I think about what life would be like with someone who actually gets me. Someone exciting. The blood drained from my face. You recorded me. You followed me. I didn't have to, Sam said quietly. You've been doing this in public, Ailith. In restaurants, at bars, in front of our friends and family. Everyone knows except me. Mira looked stricken, but she still tried to defend me. That was just girl talk. Everyone fantasizes. About specific people, Sam interrupted. About Victor from her company? About hotel rooms and secret meetings? He opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. Phone records, credit card statements, printed emails, photographs. My entire affair laid out in neat, organized rows. Sam, I whispered, seeing my marriage crumble before my eyes. Let me explain. Explain what? He asked. Explain how you've been lying to me for months? Explain how you've been using our joint account to pay for your affair? Explain how you've been telling our daughter that Daddy's just busy with work when she asks why we don't seem happy anymore? I looked around the room desperately. Frank looked disappointed but not surprised. Evelyn looked grimly satisfied. Mira was pale and silent. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, I said, my voice breaking. It wasn't supposed to hurt anyone. But it did, Sam said quietly. It hurt everyone. I spent the next 3 days in a haze, staying at Mira's apartment while Sam thought things through. Every time I called home, Ellie sounded more confused and distant. Every time I texted Sam, his responses grew shorter and more formal. Victor wouldn't return my calls at all. Maybe this is for the best, Mira said on Wednesday morning, bringing me coffee. Maybe you two just weren't compatible anymore. But I could hear the doubt in her voice. The certainty she'd had in defending me was cracking. I need to go home, I said. I need to fix this. When I pulled into our driveway, there was an unfamiliar car parked outside. Through the window, I could see Sam sitting at our dining room table with a man in a suit, papers spread between them. I walked in without knocking. It was still my house after all. Ailith, Sam said, standing as I entered. This is David Chen, my attorney. The words hit me like a physical blow. Attorney. The man stood and handed me an envelope. Mrs. Marrow, I'm serving you with legal separation papers. Your husband is seeking primary custody of your daughter and protection of his financial assets. I stared at the envelope, unable to process what was happening. Sam, you can't be serious. Over what? A few friendly conversations with a coworker? Sam's laugh was bitter. Friendly conversations? Ailith, I have hotel receipts. I have text messages. I have photos from Victor's social media of the two of you together at restaurants, at bars, at conferences that weren't on your company's calendar. Photos? My voice came out as a whisper. He slid a tablet across the table. Victor's Instagram account was open, showing picture after picture that I'd forgotten existed. Us laughing over dinner, me in his hotel room, clearly visible in the background of his selfie. Me wearing the necklace he'd bought me, the one I'd told Sam was a gift from Mira. I hired a private investigator, Sam continued. Hotel staff remember you. You've been using the same room for months, the same restaurants. You weren't even trying to hide it. You just thought I was too stupid to notice. Sam, please, I begged. Yes, I made mistakes. Yes, I got caught up in something that felt exciting, but we can work through this. We have Ellie to think about. We do have Ellie to think about, he agreed, which is why I'm not going to let her grow up watching her mother lie to her father every day. Which is why I'm not going to let her think this is what marriage looks like. The attorney handed me another thick envelope. This contains copies of all evidence we'll be presenting in court. Phone records, financial statements, witness testimony, photographic evidence, and signed affidavits from hotel staff confirming your repeated stays with Mr. Henson. I opened the envelope with shaking hands. Page after page of my betrayal, documented and organized with the same methodical precision Sam brought to everything. There's also this, Sam said quietly, sliding one more item across the table. It was a USB drive labeled Dashcam March 15th. What is this? I asked, though I was afraid I already knew. The parking garage at the Marriott downtown, Sam said. The day you told me you were at a team-building workshop across town. The day you and Victor spent the afternoon together. I didn't need to watch it to know what it would show. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the papers. Sam, I whispered, I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen, he replied, and now we all have to live with the consequences. As I sat there surrounded by the evidence of my betrayal, I realized that everything I'd thought I was getting away with had been carefully documented. Every lie I'd told had been quietly fact-checked. Every excuse I'd made had been methodically disproven. Sam hadn't been paranoid or controlling. He'd been thorough. The family court hearing was scheduled for a Thursday morning in May. I'd spent weeks with my own attorney, trying to find some angle, some way to minimize the damage. But every strategy we discussed ran into the same problem: the evidence. "Your husband has been very comprehensive," my lawyer said delicately. "The documentation is extensive and well organized. Our best option might be to negotiate rather than contest." But I couldn't accept that. This was my daughter, my life, my family. I wouldn't just roll over and let Sam destroy everything because of a few mistakes. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected, but it felt enormous as I sat at the defendant's table. Sam sat across the aisle with his attorney, calm and composed in his best suit. Behind him, Evelyn and Frank sat in the gallery. Behind me, only Mira. Even my own father had declined to come, saying he was disappointed in my choices. "Your Honor," Sam's attorney began, "this case is unfortunately straightforward. Mrs. Marrow engaged in a months-long extramarital affair, using joint marital funds to finance her activities, and repeatedly lying to both her husband and daughter about her whereabouts and activities." He presented the evidence methodically. Bank statements showing charges at restaurants and hotels, phone records showing hundreds of calls and texts with Victor, photos from social media, witness statements from hotel staff. When it was my turn, I tried to explain. "Your Honor, I made mistakes. I got caught up in something that made me feel valued and appreciated in a way I hadn't felt in years, but I'm still Ellie's mother. I love her more than anything." "Mrs. Marrow," the judge interrupted, "love is demonstrated through actions, not just words. Can you explain to the court why we should believe you'll prioritize your daughter's welfare when you've spent months prioritizing your own desires over your family's stability?" I looked desperately at Mira, at my attorney, at anyone who might help me find the right words. But there were no right words, not when faced with the mountain of evidence Sam had compiled. The judge reviewed the custody evaluation, which recommended primary custody go to Sam based on stability and truthfulness. She reviewed the financial records, which showed I'd spent over $3,000 of joint funds on my affair. She reviewed character statements from teachers, neighbors, and family members. In matters of child custody, the judge finally said, the court's primary concern is the best interests of the child. Based on the evidence presented, I'm granting primary physical custody to the father, with supervised visitation rights for the mother until she can demonstrate consistent, honest behavior. The gavel came down, and my world collapsed. Additionally, the judge continued, Mrs. Marrow will be responsible for reimbursing the joint marital account for funds spent on extramarital activities, plus legal fees incurred by both parties. As we left the courtroom, Sam walked past me without a word, holding Ellie's hand. She looked back at me once, confusion and hurt clear in her 8-year-old eyes. "Mommy," she said, "are you coming home with us?" "Not today, baby," I managed to say around the lump in my throat, "but I'll see you soon, okay?" But even as I said it, I knew it was another lie. Because soon would be supervised visits twice a week, in a sterile room with a court-appointed monitor. Soon would be trying to explain to my daughter why Mommy couldn't live at home anymore. Soon would be living with the consequences of every choice I'd made, every lie I'd told, every moment I'd chosen my own desires over my family's needs. As I stood alone outside the courthouse, watching Sam drive away with our daughter, I finally understood what Evelyn had tried to warn me about that night at the wine bar. Actions have consequences, and some consequences can't be charmed away, explained away, or blamed on someone else. I'd thought I was living a little, taking some harmless freedom while Sam was busy with his routines, but I'd actually been destroying everything that mattered, one lie at a time. The process server's papers felt heavy in my hands as I walked to my car alone, finally understanding that I wasn't the victim in this story after all. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.